Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. If you've been watching any of these videos, you might recall this scene right here, this composition. I was using this winter little creek here in more of a spring type of setting. And someone asked me if I can do this just as a winter scene, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'll show you some variations here. I stamped out the this little creek here and the cabin with fence. Those trees right there on that side of the scene are the ones stamped over here. Just to recap, I'm going to stamp out some additional textures in this area just to give this scene a little bit of continuity. On this scene, I added in some extra textures with the sedge filler stamp. I could use this down here if I wanted to. This is a snow scene, and I do have this little new snow pattern, but like I said, you can certainly use something like the sedge filler, and that would work just fine too. This one has a little bit of a smoother texture, and since I have it, I'm going to use it. If I didn't have it, then I would just use the sedge filler. Okay. So adding in that extra texture in there kind of fills in the surrounding areas and unifies the cabin with fence and the snowy brook down here. And on this scene right here, I just kind of added some streaks in the sky for that background sky. On this scene, I'm going to, continue with the slight variations on a theme. And I'm going to add in this moon right here. Now this stamp here is called Hot Sun. Now just as you can convert, a winter scene to a springtime type of image, you can also just take, something like a sun like this. If it had rays or something like that moving out, I don't know if I would use it for a moon, but this one's just round, and and if I stamp it out in a cool color, cool temperature, then there's no reason why you can't make this into a moon. And if I had a moon or something like that with without too much texture on it, I can certainly turn a moon into a sun. So it just really depends on what color scheme you're going with. To change something into something other than it was kind of conceived for. Although I should say that when I design a lot of these stamps, I try to make them as as flexible as possible to use in for many different usages. Okay, the moon's right there, so I think I'm going to have some moonlight coming down into this area down here. I'm starting off with a light blue. The whole thing is going to be a blue color scheme. I'm starting off with a very light blue in the form of the seashells. I keep saying seashells. That's what I called it for years. They're really Adirondack lights now. And this is the aqua. Okay, now, just in general, there's artistic freedom, but just in general, with moonlight, you don't see too many colors. So I'm going to leave this largely, a cool composition. And I'll have some areas, the white of the page, but not really too much. Okay, so this first color is kind of establishing the lighting scheme. Whatever I leave fairly light, I'm going to try to avoid going over it, in my darker tones. Moving on, Marvy number 60, sulfur blue. Okay, now I just re-inked several of my pads, so they're really juicy. And they're really getting a lot of coverage. Just even with one inking of it. Okay. Okay, right around this cabin area down here. Right in these areas, maybe I'll add a little bit more shadow in the form of, you know, a thicker saturation of ink. Okay. All right. Moving on. My next color is a number 10 Marvy light blue. It's very bright blue, very rich. Okay, filling in. I'm kind of leaving some of my cabin roof kind of light, like the moonlight's shining on it. And just, if the moonlight's kind of shining on it, it kind of pops it out, brings it out from the background a little bit. Okay, let's see. Let's create a little bit of a separation between snow and sky, land and sky. Let's mask off some of that snow, or mask off the snow, and work some color around that like that. 99% of my masks are just like that, just a rip paper towel. Occasionally you'll have to go in and, you know, use a little bit more of a careful mask, but for the most part, with everything, you know, the idea of everything blending together, you know, the need for really careful masking really, for the most part, you know, isn't there. Although I do want to get into some liquid masks, liquid frisk sometime, and do some kind of experiments with that. It seems like it can open up some possibilities. Anyways, future video. Okay. Adding in some variation throughout here. If you kind of have it all one value, it tends to kind of flatten out the scene. So you want to have that interplay of light and dark when possible, which is, I don't know, almost all the time. Okay. I have a streak back there, a little thin streak. I have this at an angle like that. Okay. I don't like that moon so stark white. I'm going to put a little bit of tone over that. Okay, let's get a little bit more tone on the perimeter to frame off the scene. If I want to get darker there, I don't want to just do it with a darker tone. I want to get it with these lighter tones. Before I get to the darker tone, I still have, you know, probably 2 more values of blue. This is the number 3 blue. Perimeter application. I I'm going with a fairly dark blue now, so applying it right here, right next to that, lighter moon, I have to be careful that I don't get a, like that shape right over the top of that moon. So, your lighter areas, just be careful not to go over those with your darker tones if you want it to remain light in value. Okay, let's see. Let's go in and add a little bit of the tone to this creek down here. Let's have some of the water. A lot of times I leave water in my daytime scenes fairly light. I think in this case I'll darken it quite a bit because I have that snow in the scene. That's, snow is very reflective, so I want that to be, really light. It's almost like the snow itself can be almost seen as a light source in the scene, just because it's reflecting so much cast light from the moon, in theory. Okay, now let's go up here again with that mask, and let's darken the sky a little bit more. Okay, moving up. Prussian blue. Very dark blue. Very dark and rich. Prussian blue, I like using it. For a while there I didn't use it too much, but I don't remember why. Okay. Alright, let's see, let's get rid of this paper so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay. Kind of really seeing a little bit more, the direction of light working in here. I have a lot of volumes are being defined a little bit more. Those volumes are being defined once again by, the use of shade and contrast. Okay. All right. Let's go to black. I've been using the same side. I've been using one tip. If I'm going to change, to a completely different hue, then I will change tips for the most part. But if I'm going in the same family of colors, and in this case, I don't know, I consider black to be in there, because everything, this is kind of a monochromatic scene, which I think is going to change, because I think I'm going to add a little bit of a warm tone, I think, for some variation coming from that moon. Okay, a little bit more in the water. And that water on the design itself, and it's darker in some areas. And I'm just going in and reiterating that. You see here's some kind of a darker shade right in there. Why not go in there and kind of bring that out a little bit more, like that. Hitting my shadows a little bit more. It is a night sky, so why not bring on the night in the form of some darker shades. Okay, now it's really coming together now, I feel, especially with that black tone, since everything is stamped out in black. And I will make that part 1, and I will be back with part 2, and I will finish this scene off. Thanks for watching.